Sure are. What does that make the Knicks? Pistons roll last night, statement game on a back-to-back, shorthanded, pummeling New York with their largest margin of victory of the year. Yeah, that'll do. Beast in the East, statement made loud and clear. We'll keep talking about the Pistons, and we'll make room on the phones all morning long. If you're feeling some type of way, you went to that game, that crowd was awesome. You watched that game, you're feeling good about your team. John's question was, are you in on basketball now? As football season's in the rearview mirror, are you in on basketball? We got the 2 Grand Slam coming up at 7:25. Back for the new year, a chance to win $2,000.
And we went out with a bang in 2025.
So 7:25, your first chance of 2026 to win some cash with us. John, Dan Campbell spoke at the podium yesterday.
He did.
And Brad Holmes will speak later this week. For Dan, let's start with a short summary. How would he grade his coaching?
I kind of love him, right? He's very honest about and what he says, we're kind of all like, yeah, we've said it on air. Mm-hmm. Like the season was a failure.
Yeah.
We said it last year. Season was a failure. They didn't end up in the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl. They didn't even end up in the playoffs. So we kind of were talking about the same things. And then to hear it from the coach, at least you have somebody in a position of power that agrees with our thoughts and our feelings.
There's no excuse making.
No.
He was asked about play calling. Would he be open to calling plays next season? This is what Dan Campbell had to say. How do you feel about it?
All right. Yep. So, hey, he wants to do what he feels best for the team. What do you feel is best for the team?
Right. Look, the idea of your head coach calling plays is not a foreign concept.
No.
A lot of guys do it, and a lot of guys do it well. Just to give people context, of the teams in the playoffs now, the majority of the head coaches call one side of the ball. And it's both one seeds. Mike McDonald of the Seahawks calls the defense. Yeah. Sean Payton of the Broncos calls the offense. But you can go up and down the list. Rams and Sean McVay. Niners and Kyle Shanahan. Those guys have played for, and in the case of McVay, won a Super Bowl. Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur, Liam Cohen, Dave Canales. The majority of the coaches in the playoffs are calling plays. So it can be done. It doesn't have to be too much on your plate. You'll have to delegate. If Dan Campbell's going to call offensive plays next season, John, it reinforces to me that they need someone on the defensive side that doesn't need someone to help them. A more experienced defensive coordinator, a veteran who's run defenses for a decade, someone where Dan Campbell can just say, dude, it's you.
Yeah.
I'm not stepping into meetings. I'm not helping you out. I can trust you to run the defense solely as an experienced defensive coordinator. That would be my thought. If Dan's going to call the offense next year, I need an upgraded defensive coordinator.
He's been very non-committal on both, which is appropriate at this time, right? This is the first week of the offseason. This is the second day of the offseason. And he spoke yesterday, and I always feel like the day after the season ends is a little bit early because you're going to get a lot of, well, I need to evaluate the positions. I need to evaluate the players. I need to evaluate the coaching staff. I need to evaluate myself. And he, in regards to, who's going to be calling plays next year, that's all part of that evaluation. The offense was markedly better when he took over for John Morton. That bar was really low.
Yeah. The defense got worse, and you may have some issues with situational football and running the team at the same time while you're calling plays. So he has to figure out the best way of organizing game day operations. I'm not opposed to him calling plays next year. I'm really not. But, John, to me, then it means I need Raheem Morris running my defense, or I need Todd Bowles if he's let go, or I need Jim Schwartz. I need someone who I can say, hey, that's off my plate. The flip side would be if Dan says, I don't want to call plays, I'm going to go get an outside play caller, then maybe he can keep Kelvin Shepard and be more of a CEO and oversee both sides of the ball.
But so to be an offensive play caller, obviously you've got to be an expert on defense as well.
Mm-hmm.
His expertise, we all know, is offense. It's the same thing. Like when you're talking about all these other play callers, yeah, you've got to know what's going on the other side of the ball. I don't know that whether or not he is the play caller, that should determine what they do on the defensive side of things.
So I'm oversimplifying that.
Well, not necessarily. So it's you got to take a look at the defensive side and say, how can we improve? Is it a matter of health and personnel? Is it a matter of recognizing that personnel and being able to call the defense that best fits that personnel? Not because I love man coverage. I want to be aggressive. I want to blitz.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have that personnel, you can't keep doing that. And we saw in the Bears game, right? They didn't have the personnel to keep going man, and they finally moved to a more, I don't want to say passive defense, just a different style of defense because it was more zone coverage and it fit the personnel better. Why did it take so long?
Yeah.
But they eventually got there. Now, what did he learn as a defensive play caller moving forward to next year? Like, what can he tell Dan Campbell when Dan calls him into his offense and he's got all the metrics in front of him and says, I need you to convince me that you are the guy moving forward?
248-539-9797. Dan Campbell says he's open to calling plays next season. What do you want to see happen with the coordinator spots, and do you want Dan calling plays?
So I was going to ask you guys, what do you think if hiring an OC and going to be the play caller is the most important attribute? For me, it's somebody that's run a more pro-style offense because of Goff. Somebody that fits with Jared Goff. Like, I was kind of hoping that Zach Taylor got fired from the Bengals because he's from the Rams tree and has a past with Jared Goff. That would have been kind of an attractive hire to me because somebody that's like had some running, I don't know if that person's going to fit.
At the same time, Dan's going to want someone that runs his offense his way.
Right.
Well,
because if he's going to loosen up the reins, he wants to trust that someone's going to do exactly what he would do if he was in that spot.
Yeah, but I do worry about him being too stubborn to it having to be his way. He has taken over two OC's play callings midseason. That tells me that I'm reading in between the lines a little bit that he's a little bit stubborn, and maybe somebody with some fresh ideas could help too.
248-539-9797. We've got the Lions in the mix, got the Pistons out there as well. Jason and Fenton, you're fired up about our Hoops team. You're on 97.1.
Yeah, fired up about hoops for the first time since the Bad Boys era, to be honest with you. I was out of basketball for a while. I moved out of Michigan, wasn't watching, didn't watch the go-to-work era, which I wish I would have. But I started to tune in at the end of last season, and I am all in. This team at the end of last season, for me, was a player away, and those players were just not able to play because they were injured or whatever. And to watch them play like they played last night and put it in the face of the Knicks after watching them get beat in the playoffs last year was so much fun. This team is legit. I love it.
They're a very likable group.
Yeah, and they work together really well.
Yes.
You see them gel. You see them have each other's backs. It's just, to me, it's kind of the feeling I got with the Lions after they started to roll. Once things started to move, they started to have each other's backs. You saw them on the sidelines hyping each other up. And I see that with the Pistons. People need to really jump on board with this team because they're a blast.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks,
look, you see teamwork on defense, team defense, but also sharing the ball on offense, the energy, the camaraderie, what you see on the bench. Like, yeah, man. And anybody out there listening going, I just can't watch the NBA. Pistons are different. The Pistons are not your run-of-the-mill NBA team that takes nights off on a back-to-back. They're not a team that takes possessions off very frequently on defense. In fact, they're locked in, they're dialed in, and they're forcing takeaways, steals, turnovers, all of it. Likable group.
Yeah.
And winning will do that too, by the way.
Yes. Winning will make a group very likable.
All right. More texts and feedback on Dan Campbell as a play caller. How do you guys feel about that possibility for 2026? It's 97.1.